Welcome back to Friend or Farewell. Which actually, this and the previous one were all part of the same recording session. I was not sure if I'd recorded enough for one episode, so I just kept on going. And then it turned out that I had like an hour and a half worth of footage. So now we've just chopped it up into 2 episodes. So if stuff I'm saying is like me carrying on from what I was saying in the previous episode, that's why. Sorry for the brief confusion. Oh, Gunter from Final Fantasy... Gunter from Fire Emblem Fates. There are too many F's in there, my brain got confused. Oh, I like this lad. It does again kind of fall into the category of like grandpa character who I trust and immediately because he's a grandpa, but also not necessarily my favourite in terms of design because there really is nothing to his design except just being a grandpa. Because it's not necessarily anything unique which really communicates anything about what kind of grandpa he is, except like I guess he might be serious because his expression is serious. I have not actually played this game, but I know that one of the reasons why I didn't play this game is when I first saw it first come out, I was like, oh, there's a grandpa friend you can make in this game, and people told me that he permanently leaves your party on some routes he dies, and like in other routes he betrays you and stuff, and I was like, oh, he was like the character I was most interested in, so it kind of put me off from buying the game. But anyway, I like his swooshy hair. So yeah, aside from being Grumple Grumpy Grample Group or Grumple Grumple Groo, I do not have too much to say about his design. It's in the category of things I like, but not necessarily a well-designed thing. Like, you just have times when, like, even though you can tell a thing that wasn't well-designed, it is still a thing you like. And it kind of like, oh, you got me there, oh, you didn't put enough effort into it, but oh, you knew I'd like it anyway. Like, oh, you didn't want to do the cooking, so you just gave me like a giant barrel full of kiwis, and like I'm not gonna say no to that. Also, I do gotta say his outfit does kind of have like Final Fantasy XIV syndrome. That's gonna be stuck in my brain. Final Fantasy XIV syndrome is now my word for it. I need to think of a different word for that because I don't want to be too rude to that game. But yeah, it does have a problem of being just like so many different design elements, like none of them go together, none of them any practical reason. He is literally like wearing like 5 different armors over each other. It's just like there's so many like scales from like different types of armor stuck on top of each other with like no rhyme or reason particularly. It's like hey, I've got like 2 shoulder plates of one style, 1 shoulder plate of another style, a 3rd shoulder plate of a 3rd style, but it's not actually on my shoulder. It's kind of like moved towards my chest, and then like a rope is also here. I'm wearing a seatbelt because, like, I'm a good grandpa and I believe in car safety. The colour scheme of it is pretty good. But with the fact that his hair is also the same colour as the armour, it does kind of, like, add to making his design just look general grampy. Like, literally he is a general grampy, but also a very general grampy design. I feel like maybe if you made the highlights be that blue colour rather than being silver and then only having a blue belt, then maybe it would like draw attention more. And also, like, might be more different to his hair colour, and it might like maybe if his hair colour was like not necessarily like regular grey, but like a greyish variation of a different colour, that might work okay. It does just kind of feel like they layered on so much to his armour to make up for the fact that there is so little on his face. Honestly, I feel like maybe if you put this guy in, like, any other design, any other outfit, he might stand out a bit more, because, like, his face is, like, so ordinary grampus. Like, I feel like it would work better if his outfit was very unordinary and, like, stood out a lot. And, like, it feels like this design was, like, one of those character designs where you make a character themselves, like, very simple, because, like, the point of their design is their outfit to be very big, but then I feel like because of the Final Fantasy XIV syndrome, the outfit doesn't actually really stand out a lot. It is so many different things, but none of them stand out at all, and you can't even register what's really going on. It does just, in your mind, blur together into just, here is a grey blob. I don't know why, but now I'm imagining him wearing, like, a James Bond suit. I don't know, maybe it's a very serious face that makes me think he would wear that. Maybe they could have, like, mixed it up, like if they, like, creatively used the design being very similar to, like, draw attention to something that was not very similar, that could have been interesting. Like, maybe instead of, like, just having one, like, blue belt on it, it could have been, like, most of it, like, grey-haired grandpa, grey outfitted outfit, and then, like, most of his outfit is all grey, but then to draw attention, like one of his hands, like, glows blue or something. Like he's wearing most of the armor and he's got, like, a big demon hand of, like, blue energy or something, and, like, the whole purpose of his design mostly being normal was to draw attention to the one thing that was, like, visually important for the design. Whereas this design communicates that nothing is visually important about his design, he is supposed to blend into the background or something, which I don't think he should be, because he seems like a nice grandpa and deserves to be like a main role. So alas, the most torturous experience, having to put Grumple Grumple Groo in the farewell pile. But I will be gently tucking him into the farewell pile, with like a cozy blanket and a cup of tea. Maybe he can be a nice mentor figure to all the other people in the farewell pile. He will spread his gramply kindness to all. I am sending him down there to comfort them. This is now my headcanon at the end. None else shall ever be accepted for the end of time. Okay, moving on from the Grimps. Izumi and Sid Curtis, yay! I really love these characters, like, oh my gosh. Like from context from Full Metal Alchemist, these characters are a married couple and they're awesome. Their entire thing is that, like, Sid Curtis is a guy who looks, like, more stereotypically masculine and strong and everything, but Izumi Curtis, his wife, is, like, the most, literally, like, the most powerful, like, alchemist and ever, and, like, it introduces, like, the big, terrifying, like, mentor figure teacher, and then, like, you think it's gonna be Sig, and then, like, it turns around, like, no, actually, it's his wife, and then, like, I love how Izumi is, like, she's both, like, super powerful, but she's also, like, really confident in her femininity and everything, and she's like, I'm a housewife, and that's something to be proud of, and, like, she literally kicks everyone's asses, and they're like, oh, who are you? Are you some sort of, like, military person? Like, no, I'm a housewife, and, like, continues kicking their ass, and it's really good. I just love how lovely and supportive they are as a couple too. Like Sig is like such like a sensitive soul and like such a kind and loving husband, and like literally his entire like plot role and defining personality is just being a loving husband. We don't actually get to learn very much about him during the plot because Azumi is like the main character of their story. Like 99% of all the screen time is about Azumi going off and doing badass and awesome things, and then Sig is just like the supportive like house husband to the housewife, and it's good. It's really good. And also that infamous scene of Sig, like, flexing so hard his clothes explode and then doing, like, really dramatic, like, a dramatic muscle pose battle with another muscle guy.
Incredible valor! Respectable muscles!
It's very clear that the author was putting in a bit of self-fan service for that one. I also really like how, like, even though, like, the abundance of muscly men in the series is very clearly for fan service purposes for the author, there's also a variety of muscly men. Like, you see, here's Sid Curtis, he's, like, a muscly man who is also chubby, and, like, you have, like, a muscly man who is, like, supermodel, like, shaped, and you have, like, lean muscly bands and all that, and it's like... Yeah, it is, like, again, like, another way, like, even, like, to people who are not attracted to that kind of character, it's, like, it doesn't let, like, the focus of, like, I'm making attractive characters get in the way of making them also appeal to other people in different ways. Like, I can be here just going, yay, I love a supportive husband man. I care so much for their loving love. As someone who feel that kind of love, I admire them for how good they are at which of the love of that they do. But actually, design-wise, I don't have too much to say about them. So again, it's another situation where, like, literally, is the character a very good and adorable friend? Yes. In the terms of, like, friend or farewell being, like, yes or no to the character design, I would have to give him instead a maybe. Like, if they weren't so friend in, like, in personality and plot and anything, I would have actually given them a farewell, because these designs, they are just in the genre of, like, here are just some ordinary people who live in real life, like, there are, like, 1,000 people who look like this exactly in real life. And, like, their outfits are not very complicated and there is very much to them, but then, like, that is where their appeal lies in, like, the fact they are just, like, realistic, like, a regular normal person, real-life couple. And, like, they're not, like, overly idealized or, like, stereotyped in any way or anything, and, like, they're just real. That's good. It's interesting how, like, in anime, like, there are certain types of realism you never tend to see, so, like, characters being that immediately makes them, like, stand out more than, like, the ridiculously over-designed characters. Also, I really like how well drawn, like, Azumi's dreadlock ponytail coolness is. Like, there are so many, like, really good animations of that. But aside from that, don't really have anything to say about the design, except that these look like a nice couple of normal people I might meet on the street and then give a big hug. And then learn, like, mind-shattering alchemy from them. And also how to ominously cut a chunk of pork and then get into a flex battle with another man. And how to be really good characters! Oh, I think this one is from Abby. Okay, Pauline from Crystales. I really like the effect of this design. The guy has such a cool way of doing, like, a statue-type person. Like, the design, like, I think she's meant to be, like, a stained glass person, but, like, she isn't, because, like, she's just, like, a regular glass person. And like you can see in stained glass, where like stained glass is like defined by like having like very different colours and stuff, but she's not. She's kind of like all the same colour all over, but they did like different shades of it, and the way they've done it really evokes like stained glass. So it just feels like is she actually meant to be made of glass, and it's like a stylized way of depicting it? Like I think this would be a really creative design of like a glass golem type character. Because way too often when you see like the fantasy video game version of golems, it's not really like how they were described in actual mythology. It's just like they tend to be like very lumpy and simplified like rock creatures who are always like they don't talk, and then they're just like grah and stuff like that. And like I feel like there's so much more creative stuff that could be done with a concept of like a artificial person made out of stone. And like this is like a really good way of doing it. Like especially like the idea of like different types of stone could like create different appearances for like these stone people. And like it's especially weird because weren't golems in the original mythology made of clay, not stone? Anyway, it's interesting to think about how concepts can be like completely divorced from their original meaning after like years and years of like one person creates a video game monster based on like a real life concept, and then everyone who's just only seen the video game monster, not seen a real life concept, like misunderstands based on like whatever design traits the first person did, and then they take them as if they're rules for the character, and like every future one will be that for years and years and years, and it's interesting in its own way. Like how you see like Dragon Quest Slime, the first like originally Dragon Quest Slimes were like they were a very creative and unusual thing to do for that archetype. Like before, like you'd only ever see like slime characters that would be like really like scrungly and evil looking like blobs and stuff, like big old even like completely faceless, or like having a big old scary mouth to eat you or something. Like honestly, like the muddy hand in Dragon Quest looks more like the archetypical like D&D type slime before Dragon Quest Slime came along. I mean, everyone takes like let's say the concept like slimes always have to be like a spherical thing with a face on it. Like none of them are really like a slime shape anymore, because like bubble slime is more of like a actual slime shape. Like making a slime be teardrop shaped was a creative thing, but then you see people who like derive from that and they're like, oh, we'll make all our slimes be like spherical shaped, like missing the fact that it was meant to be like in a teardrop shape because it's a liquid. And then like you end up like a million iterations later, and like now most video game slimes don't even look like slime at all in any way aside from the name. It's just interesting to think about that, but also very sad to think about that happening sometimes with like literal mythological monsters, and it's a big old shame. Because like these things are really important to like real people's religions. Like it's a bit disrespectful when you think about it. But yeah, back on topic, I really like how creative this design is. How they made a character who is like literally like Wesker. Like this is literally like that thing. Like it's a character who is the same color all over, indistinguishable between like skin and clothing. But like it's done for a reason. Because this character is like an amazing fancy glass person. I really love how they've made a design be like so flowy, despite the fact she's made of glass. Like it really looks like spun glass. Like there's like glass blowing and stuff like that. Like it doesn't just look like a big old chunk of the rock has been taken out of the ground. It looks like a crafted person. I really like that. I love how they do it without making her look too humanoid either. Like the way she's stylized, how everything is so swooshy and poofy and all that, and like how it looks like all that. Just even looking at that, looking at the texture, how the text looks completely solid, and the fact that like the shapes and all that, it makes you think like even the parts which look like normal human skin would not. They would in fact just be like glass blown shapes of it, and you could tap on it and make a clunk noise. And it makes her whole design like work so much coherently better and be so creative and interesting. Like oh my gosh, like it is so rare to see like a more like curve shaped type like I'm saying golem because that's what they're called in JRPG. I mean like an animate object character. I really like how well they chose the different shades of like the similar colours here. Like I love it. Like you have a good sense of like stark contrast of like very different colours, but also they're very similar colours, and it works so good. I also love how ambiguous it is, how like the crisscrossing pattern across the chest, how it's like it's unclear whether that is actually her wearing a dress or if that was just like a pattern that's like made into her skin when she was created and like she doesn't wear clothing. And like either way it's really cool. And also just I think she has like a very cute little pose going on. She seems like a very nice character. Also seems like a very mysterious and ethereal character, and awesome. Like honestly, if this character like showed up and like turned out to be like super strong and super defensive and everything like the usual golem characters in JRPGs, I would 100% believe it. She's got a kind of energy of like you know when you have a design that looks harmless, but then you can just tell they're not harmless. That is that kind of design I'm going for. It's like looking pretty and all that as like a power move. Like if you told me this was a character who like started off like and was actually born looking like the generic kind of JRPG golem where it's just like vaguely the shape of a human with like no personality or anything, and like no attention given to like letting it live like a happy life and like express itself in any way. And then she went out and she like recrafted her body, like reforged her body to be something that she wanted to be. Like I would believe that would be like a really good plot for this character, honestly, and a really good metaphor for like transness in general. I don't know if this character is in any way LGBT related, but like I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there, like good opportunity for a relatable plot if anyone happens to want to do it in the future. So generally, I really do like this design, because despite this character just being like a cute girl that people find attractive and all that, like she's not just a cute girl that people find attractive. Like me, as someone who feels no attraction whatsoever to this character, I still think she's a really well put together design. And I think that's interesting because both Abby and Nova have been submitting a lot of characters who are like attractive women that they're very lesbian for, and like I feel bad that every single time I've been like, I'm not attracted to this character, I'm sorry, but I feel like this is good because this is a case of a character who is that, which I can just go like, yeah, I have opinions about, yay, I'm joining in, I'm being with friends. Also, I would totally buy like an outfit themed around the colours of this character. Like if you had like a shirt or like a cloak or something like that with like the patterns of these cool colours and everything and all that, I would love to wear that. It's like that'd be a really good piece of like cosplay equipment to have. Like it's a shame how like too often like merchandise for games, it tends to like just be a t-shirt with like a piece of art in the middle of it. If it was like a t-shirt with like a pattern wrapping all the way around, it looks much cooler. I wonder if they're like harder to manufacture though. Maybe that could be the reason. I'm going off topic, I'm going to continue. Armor King 2 from Tekken. What happened to Armor King 1? I can definitely see the armor, but I can't really see very much King about this design. I think this might be another one where I don't have too much to say. It does seem like a character who is very much designed to be attractive to people who find things attractive. And me, as someone who do not have that lobe of brain, I do not have a word of which to say. Also, has a very realistic leopard man head. I don't know why, I'm not particularly a fan of leopard men. I was actually talking about this with Abby for like a day ago, and she was saying how she liked like 2 Leopard Man characters and different things, and I was like, oh, I'm not too fussed with Leopard Man. I don't know why. I feel like Leopard Man as opposed to like cat head men don't look quite as cool. Because like, I guess when you think about it, like a leopard is more like a more simplified cat. Like its ears are smaller and like it's got less like stuff going on. I don't know. Like I'm still not particularly a fan of like anthro characters in general unless they're like a bit more stylized and stuff like that. I think if you just plop like a realistic animal head on a person, like there's not too much to go on about that. I'm sure I'd change my tune if it was like my favourite animal or something. I also feel like this design is kind of going crazy with like different texts and stuff. Like it's kind of a texture equivalent to the overcomplicated Final Fantasy designs. Like, you have floofy, and then you have, like, metallic and spiky, and you have, like, metallic and chainy, and you have, like, metallic and a different type of chainy, and metallic and chain melee, and you have spiky gauntlets, and you have, like rubber straps, and then it's, like curly knives for my waist, my waist knives, in case I really want to, like, stab my crotch every time I try and run. Maybe the line's pointing at where the crotch be. I feel like nothing about this is really consistent, too, because, I mean, you have, like punk spike armors, and then you have like medieval fantasy type armors, and you have like moderny type chains, then you have like a wrestling belt. This is probably a wrestler character just for the fact that like whenever you have like a buff person wearing a bunch of silly stuff, it's likely that they are going to be a wrestler. I don't know. And you have like biker gangy part things, bikery. I think those gloves are things that a biker wears. I have literally no clue what these things are around the thighs. Like five restraints, 5 car tracks, and so someone could drive an entire motorbike around your thighs. Maybe that's where the gloves come from. Maybe this guy is like, I challenge you to beat my thigh maze, and if you lose, I shall take your hands and nothing else. It's like the final boss that all bikers must face. And I find it really distracting how over-rendered that like floofy boa is compared to everything else. Like, we must show you every individual strand of this. I think, honestly, the only thing I really do like is, the capey butt thingy. The capey butt thingy. I don't know if there's a word for those kind of things, but, like, the same thing that Ansem from Kingdom Hearts has. Remember, I was talking on the Dot Hack. No, the guy who looked like he was from Dot Hack was not from Dot Hack. I can't remember what actually. So I go on here about like that kind of like side sleevey thing is like a unique thing that you tend to see a lot in video game character designs, but I don't think it's common enough in real life outfits to have a proper name for it. If anyone doesn't know if there is a proper name for it, please tell me, because that's cool. Like, I would legit want to wear that, because like that is like in its own way a kind of like non-binary aesthetic I really like, is like hey, we're not a dress, we're not a dress and we're also not a cape, but we're like a cape in the place of where a dress be. Therefore, we are like defying all gender traits by like making up an entirely new thing that makes absolutely no sense. That's the kind of androgy I like. Disregard all norms about where a fashion go. You can put an entire tire track on your thigh if you believe in yourself. But yeah, I really like how bold the colour is compared to everything else in the design. I think that works really, really good. And also having like I don't know what language those characters are in from just seeing only part of it, but like having those the writing, I'm not sure what it says, whatever that writing says, having those writing symbols on the design like that, it looks really cool. Like that's a cool kind of like subtle asymmetry, because like you still have like a red cape on both sides, but then you have like one side of it subtly broken up by a pattern, the other side is not broken up by a pattern. It's good, and it really like it gets to you. It's like asymmetrical without standing out too much and like absorbing the design. And generally, I think that's a really good way of like summarizing like why this cape looks really good. It's like the fact that it's such a bold and such a different color than everything else in the design means it draws your eye, but also it doesn't draw your eye too much to the point that everything else is like destroyed away. It looks really cool. It looks like a cherry on top of the piece, sort of. But the rest of the piece is just like not good. It's like the cherry on top of like a manky banana. A manky banana that a lot of people find sexually attractive. And power to them. Power to you, all the banana daters in the world. Why is banana like my go-to thing for making a comparison? I don't even like bananas. This man would probably like banana bread. That is my final verdict. Okay, we have Utena Tenju from Revolutionary Girl Utena. I've heard of this because I think Nova might put this on the list because I've heard of this from Nova. It's apparently like a very, 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 very lesbian anime. And from what I vaguely know from the context, this character is supposed to be like a girl who's like cross-dressing, or like not cross-dressing, but like takes on a masculine prince role. I think I've heard that's like I guess like not the catchphrase, but or like I guess like the motto or the theme of the series is like this girl is my princess and like this girl is my prince, and like she's supposed to be like the prince role to the princess role of the other girl. I'm not too sure about the context of all of that, but that's what I'd say in terms of the design. I don't think it succeeds at that at all. This does not look like a princely character to me. Hey, this is Born in Post, just adding a little bit of clarification. Friend or foe is usually like my first, like my gut reactions to things. I was just saying my first reactions on like the image, and then kind of used it as a jumping off point to talk about stereotypes and stuff I'd seen in other media. I'm not saying that I think this show also has those stereotypes. I have no way of telling just from one image. So I want to make it clear that like literally nothing I say here is a critique about the show at all. I have no idea. I'm in no informed position to like make big sweeping critiques about a show I'm literally not informed on, and it would have been ridiculous and silly of me to do that. It would be especially stupid of me to make any form of critiques on this show when literally the only facts I know is like lesbian princess, and at some point somebody turns into a car. This doesn't look like a cross-dressing character to me at all, to be honest. Like, her design just 100% looks girl to me. Like, there's like literally nothing masculine about this, and I do feel like that's been a problem I've seen in like a lot of like older anime. It's like, we're gonna really like push the button and like have like a very tomboyish character, and then like their definition of a tomboyish character is like much lower than it is nowadays. So it would just be like a girl who has like one like not even a masculine trait, but just like a trait that is uncommon for women, and it would be like she's so masculine. Every character's acting like, oh my god, she looks so manly, I can never tell she's a woman. Oh my god, she's so like horribly disgustingly manly and all that, and it's just like a really like girly looking girl in like a sexy girl costume, but like I don't know, it's like a football jersey over the top of it, and I'm just like, what it's like straightness less fragile basically. If her design was intended to be very masculine or androgynous, it didn't really succeed. Cause like bright pink, really long hair, really big like glorious eyes, and like the way she's wearing like I guess like a kind of an army inspired type outfit, but like everything about it is like they made it into a magical girl. But I also do like how the colours of it and like where the buttons are placed and everything makes it slightly evoke a Japanese like school gakuran. Like a masculine school uniform. So I feel like maybe that might be like the masculine element that's being added into it. But like, yeah, it's probably not good for me to like be critiquing this design entirely on like me not even knowing if the character's meant to be androgynous or feminine or not, because like if it does turn out I'm totally wrong and the character was supposed to be feminine all along, I doesn't sound like a real old dingus. I checked up more information on the series, and this character is actually supposed to be wearing the boy's uniform. So I'm going to stick on the critiques I made here. I think this is maybe not a good way of designing it to communicate that, because I genuinely would not have known if I hadn't have previously heard about it from my friend who actually has watched the series. I think a lot of design traits they did here kind of technically she's wearing a boy's uniform blaze, but everything around it is skirts and frills and bright pink hair and everything. It is quite hard to immediately notice that that's what is happening. I'm also 100% not knocking people who like to dress like this in real life. There are 1,000 valid ways to be androgynous. I'm just judging this purely as a character design and for, what it communicates in the plot. And to me, visually, this just 100% looks like this could be a completely valid female uniform for a school and no one would bat an eye. So I think just overall, this character design is kind of a design that I can't really, critique in any way without having a context of the show. Because if I'm just making gut critiques on this, it will be my critiques based on my idea of representation of transgender queer people, cross-dressing people in media, and I cannot tell unless I know how this show does represent that kind of stuff. So judging this entirely just based on the design, kind of a colour scheme isn't really doing it for me. Not the colour scheme of her hair and her eyes and stuff like that, but the colour scheme of the outfit doesn't really do it for me. It's that particular shade of how the red is rendered and everything, it doesn't go too well with the black. I feel if the red had been close to the pink of her hair or the red of the rose, it might have worked better. But it's the red is very dark, so it is, when the shading hits it, it's kind of hard to make it out from against the black, and I feel that doesn't work necessarily very well. Also, I feel that floofy skirt thing just the out of a shirt, it doesn't really have much of a purpose or a reason to be there other than just to be here's a feminine aspect, I guess. But the way it's drawn looks like it doesn't really attach to anything. It's hard to tell if it's attached to the coat or if it's worn underneath the coat, 'cause it doesn't look like either. It's like the way it's layering under the coat, the coat looks like it's been drawn over it rather than around it, if that makes any sense. Also, it being exactly the same length as the shorts underneath it means that it's kind of it kind of draws away the attention from both of those design elements, because they overlap so much. Why is there a big slit in the middle of it? Unless it is attached to the coat, but the way it's layered doesn't make it look like it's attached to the coat. And then their shoulders randomly having ringlets on them. Again, that's how it does seem we've taken a masculine type outfit and then gone way over the top of making it feminine in every possible way. Because you have those floofy things on the shoulder of military things, but then we've made every individual one be a feminine hair ringlet. And you can even see the highlights on them are slightly heart shaped on the gemstone. So yeah, I would kind of say, from my perspective, as a non-binary person who, a designated female at birth non-binary person, I spend, all my time trying to make myself look less feminine because, that's the body I was born in, looking that way. And, maybe I'm a bit oversensitive about that stuff, and maybe, I'm not seeing this design being as, masculine as it's supposed to be because, to me, I'm, very hyper-conscious about, anything too feminine or too masculine in my design. My design, my appearance, but, so when you have a character who's, very feminine and also meant to be very attractive, I don't have too much to say about them. Oh, one thing, I feel bad, there's only one thing I like. One thing I like is, how, the outfit is very, magical girl, cross, military stuff. Those are two interesting things to combine. That's an interesting idea to I feel maybe the character's meant to be a combination of masculinity and femininity, rather than being a girl who looks masculine or anything like that. It's more we're gonna have maximum feminine and maximum masculine at the same time, and that's the kind of not androgyny but both-ity that we're gonna go for. I feel that's totally valid. There are plenty of bi-gender people, or even just people of any other gender who prefer to look that way, and I think that's cool. Just for me personally, I tend to go with more of a neutral on either kind of fashion. Maybe I should go up and research about this and come back and give it a better review later, but I just know I'm personally not very interested in it. So yeah, I feel kind of bad that a lot of the ones that Nova has submitted have been ones that I don't personally have much to say about, just because we have very different design aesthetics. I think it might just me and my aceness is really getting in the way here. The original thing that was here, which is a long description of me being asexual and feeling self-conscious about my design preferences and stuff, I've cut all that out because that's completely off topic, but I didn't want to lose this funny line, so here you go. I'm not attracted to them, and then they're everywhere in media. You cannot shake a cat without finding 50 sexy cat girls. I basically took too many words to say, like, I am not a lesbian myself, and this character doesn't particularly appeal to me in that sense, but I'm really happy this representation exists in anime. And I'm so happy for my friend over who loves it. Also, Abby, if you're watching, maybe you'd like this anime too. I'm always happy to recommend stuff to my friends. Viola from Bayonetta! Hey, now this is one I can like that Nova also likes. I really do like that, how, like, Bayonetta is a series I'm never going to play because it is, like, 100% focused on fan service, and as a person who just doesn't appreciate that, I'm not going to appreciate it. Also, it's like, it's both focused on fan service, it's also in a genre of game I just don't really like. I don't like, character action reflex type stuff because I have really bad depth perception, I always end up missing everything. It is kind of funny, like, I done one stream of a platformer game and I failed so hard. Remember how Sonic Forces is apparently, like, the easiest Sonic game according to everyone? That was the one I failed so hard at. Oh my gosh. Now this is more of my thing. This is more of a kind of, like, androgynous design I like. But Nova has also showed me screenshots of this character in-game, and it seems they kind of just changed the design a lot of, like, how they render the face and stuff. And I do feel like I really prefer this concept design version of the face. Like, the face in-game seems like a bit more, like, too realistic, and it kind of is a slightly uncanny compared to the other characters of, like, how she just, like, looks like a real, like, butch lesbian. If that makes any sense. It's not like it's a super unrealistic art style or something, but it does seem kind of strange when one character has a more realistic face than everybody else, especially when in a concept design she didn't. Also, I feel like her in-game version, the colour of her lipstick and, like, the size of her lipstick is, like, much more prominent, and I just don't personally like that very much. I don't feel like it's a particularly, like, strong or important part of a design to really emphasise so much. And I feel like it works better here where it is, like, just the same colour as the highlights in her hair. And that just, like, it's a good bit of coherence working on there. Also, I really like that colour scheme for the hair. Like, that's an unexpected type of, like, hair colour and highlights on it. Like, blonde and purple looks really good. Like purple and gold always work really good together. I'm not sure why, but they just really do. And, like, this is the opposite of how you usually expect it. Like, you usually tend to, like, whenever someone goes purple and gold, it's, like, purple with gold highlights. This is, like, gold with purple highlights. And it makes it, like, stand out really good and unique. Like, oh my god, that's what she is! She's Beta Wesker! Oh my god! I was just thinking, like, like, you have a character who's wearing all black, with blonde hair, but they made the blonde hair actually, like, stand out against the black, by, like, not having it be overly shaded like stupid to Helen back. And also, it didn't make it just all black. She's got, like, parts to break it up. Like, she's wearing, like, mostly black all over, but, like, the fact that they made it, like, a crop top and they made it, like, a long-necked shirt means that you have, like, bands of, like, skin colour, like, breaking up the designs so it doesn't all go together. And also, having, like, these designs and accessories in different colours to break up the black works really well to, like, not make it all just bleed together and make it, like, you don't even need to pay attention to anything that's happening below the neck down. And also, like, having the trousers be different colour, it does make it like it's not just black all the way down. Like, she has a white shirt with a pattern, and she has, like, checkered, like, half black, half not black trousers. It works really good. I feel like a lot of work got put into this, like, putting, like, the balance of, like, each colour to, like, make it, like, I guess, so I feel like when you make a cocktail, like, you layer all of the different liquids that have, like, different, like, resting points in, like, liquid physics, but, like, with colours. And it's like, here's my cocktail of, like 20% shoe and 40% trouser and 50% reason to remember the name. I'm kind of hyperactive, sorry. Also, I just really like that weird t-shirt. Like some sort of strange scarecrow witch cat going boop while on fire. Like, I'm assuming it's meant to be like a witch hunt type graphic because, like, apparently I think the characters in Bayonetta are witches, but I really love that, like, scrumblow design there. Like, honestly, I kind of prefer that character to the character. Like, if that was the character, I want to play as that character. I want to play as just, like, weird little scrumblow, like spider cocoon, butterfly wings, scarecrow cat with a witch hat, and like, rescue them from the flames, because oh my gosh. But also, why is it saying boop? Call me crazy, but I don't think that's a sound effect of being on fire. I love how her weapon also has, like, a little plush toy cat on it. And from what I've seen, that's like a cutified, like, keychain representation of her, like, her familiar character. Like, if Nova had put this on the list, I would have a lot more to say about that, because, oh my god, that's a really good monster design. Like, a really scrumbly, like, Cheshire Cat. Like, and it's such a good effect. They have, like, the Cheshire Cat, and, like, its mouth is, like, the width of its entire body, and its entire body, like opens up like a zipper, and, like, its head is going, wah, 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 because its head is, like, its entire head. Its mouth is its entire head, and its head is its entire body, and it's like SpongeBob physics, but used for the sake of making a character look really badass and cool. Like, it's a character that's cute with creepy elements, rather than creepy with cute elements, which is the kind of thing I usually like, but both ways around, it's just really cool. It reminds me of, I can't remember what the name of it is, but there's one monster in Jade Cocoon 2, that was one of my favourites, which is a rabbit which had a similar aesthetic of mouth to that, and I really liked that. Also, I feel like this design works well to kind of hide the fact that, like, every Bayonetta character is a really weird design trait of being like a small torso and really long legs. It's less clearly that here because she has, like, the long boots. It's funny how the boots don't even register as long boots in your mind because, like, the legs are so low. It makes her legs look almost normal sized. So yeah, I'll give this a friend, and then also just throwing in, like, a even more friend for her cat friend. And so I was going to say I'll go search an image of it and I'll try and review it now, but I don't actually know what the cat friend is called because, like, I don't play this game, so I cannot do that. If people want to see a sequel to this where I give more information on the cat friend, ask and you shall receive. Once I ask someone else what the character's name is so I can receive the image. Also, is she Scottish? That would be cool. Also, just adding in here in editing, I somehow accidentally mispronounced Scotland as Skateland. So I fixed that, but I'm throwing that in anyway just to give you a laugh. She actually does look like she would be from Skateland. Oh, Gary, yay! Oh, I really like Gary from Ib, like, I had so many feelings for him. And, like, oh, so I really like the design, like, it's so cool and so, maybe this isn't the best reference image for it, because it is, like, kind of hard to tell, like, what sketch lines was actually part of a design, but, you see, the hair by hair, like, these particular sketch lines here are actually not just, like, the lines of the outline, it is actually part of a design, like, Gary's hair is, like, mostly purple, and then just has, like, these, black highlight lines on the top, which I think is supposed to be, like, the roots of his hair, and to indicate that, like, his natural hair colour might be black and his hair might be dyed to be purple, but it's uncertain because it is, like, a game with, like, a very, funky anime art style, so I don't know if, like, it's one of those worlds where, like, it's just natural to have funny hair colours. But the way they stylize it in the in-game stuff, maybe I'll pop up an image up there for reference of, like, what he looks like in different, like, in-game portraits and stuff like that. The way they stylize that, it looks really good because it makes like the roots of his hair look like what's it like wilted tomato leaves, like a very specific kind of, like, wilted leaves, and it really, like, adds a lot to his design, and it's also like early foreshadowing kind of, because in this game it's like the main original premise is, like, everyone's trapped in, like, an evil, like, living paintings world, and, like, your life is represented by a rose, which is actually, like, a literal thing in a plot, not just an interface element. Everyone, like, when they first go into this world, they wake up with, like, a rose, which is, like, their life force taken form, and, like, you've got like you don't just worry about, like, physical attacks from the monsters. It's like, if the monsters damage the rose in any way, it damages your body, and, like, if your rose is completely destroyed, you will just die on the spot, even if you are, like, your body is physically unharmed. It's a really interesting idea. So yeah, I feel like the idea of giving Gary, like, a hairstyle which, like, looks like a wilted flower is like symbolizing kind of, like, his status in the game is fragile. Depending on, like, how you do in the game, you will get multiple endings where he may or may not die, like, trying to protect you, and it's really something. I really care this man, seriously. Like, his entire role in the game is just to be like yeah, it's one of those games where you play, like, a silent main character, like, I think it does talk sometimes, like, an internal monologue and stuff. But yeah, like, you play a mostly silent main character, and then Gary is the character who's, like, the supporting character who goes around and actually says stuff about everything. But I feel like they pulled it off really well, because, like, they made him just a really, really, really likable character. He's just a cool older brother type character who's like doing his best. Like, he doesn't know you. He's never met this little child before. And he like on sight is like, oh my god, there's a kid who's also trapped in this horrifying, terrifying world. I want to protect them. And like, it's really balanced out well because like Gary is like an inherently like a kind of like a cowardly and fragile man in personality, to put it that way. It's like when you first see him, he's like freaking the heck out, and like he almost got killed by the monster before you came along, and like you honestly do a lot of like saving him as much as he saves you, and it's a really good it immediately establishes how trustworthy and good he is. Like, he is terrified and he still thinks about you and like protecting you more than himself at every possible opportunity. And I really love it. Like, you will feel so much, and you will like replay the game as many times as it takes to figure out how to save this poor dude. Aside from like the really creative hair and like how it frames his eyes and everything, like there isn't too much unique about this design. But I do really like the ragged overcoat and how good it looks in combination with the hair all being all swoosh. Honestly, he looks almost like an elemental of like wilted flowers or something. It does make me wonder if like maybe he looked different before he like fell into the painting world, and this is like his appearance symbolizing like what happened to him after he already lost a few petals off his flower before he met you. Or if it is just simply he has really funky fashion sense like this, and like it is pure coincidence they just happen to reflect his surroundings. I feel like it's a nice simple design. Like, most of the designs in the game are quite simple, and like for conveying all this stuff in like the simplest and quickest way possible, like the least amount of like individual details, because it was a game that was originally like a very low pixel count on the graphics. Like, I think this works really well. Just giving the character like one distinctive like feature that is immediately visible in like the character portraits, which are just ahead, and also will be visible on the sprite where you have like very small amounts of pixels to show the sprite. Having the hair just be so distinctive really is like a good standout thing. Also, I feel like just having a design like look very like typically like gloomy character and like a gloomy character, like a character that you might think might be untrustworthy on first sight if you believe in like silly stereotypes, and then also like having the character first be introduced as like a helpless, scared guy on the floor who's got attacked by the monsters, and like as soon as you wake him up, he like immediately like cares about you so much, and is just like, I'm gonna be like a good role model to this child, and I'm gonna help get you out of this place, and he keeps on trying so hard to help you, even though he's even more scared than you are, and it's so good. One thing I do have to raise a point though is in the English translation of the game, the Gary is called he, but I'm not actually certain like what gender identity the creator of the game intended for him. Because all we know about in the Japanese version, and this was not really kept in the English version, the Japanese version, he speaks in what's called Oni dialect, which is like a typical like mannerism associated with like both gay men and trans women. And there were also official arts with a caption, Gary is someone who wants to cross the boundaries of gender. So I am unsure if this character was meant to be non-binary rather than like male. Like as far as like all we can tell is that the character, we don't know if the character is like a trans woman or like non-binary, or like just a gay man who like uses like effeminate mannerisms in that sort of sense. But all we know is that the English translation like removed all three of those interpretations, and like the only way to find out that the character did originally have like something LGBT going on was in the translation notes, where they were saying like this was just an untranslatable thing I couldn't manage to do. And I do kind of feel like I've heard this game is getting a remake for the Switch. I do kind of hope that they do like have a revised translation there, because I feel like having like this is a character trait that isn't like immediately visible for like anything of how the design was created, and it's also like not being communicated at all in the writing, and like it's very unlikely that most people playing the game will know to like go and search out the translator's like fan website and find a translation note on the bottom of a list of translation notes to be able to find out that the character was LGBT. And like I just hope that like maybe some things will change in the script to like even if you can't like exactly communicate exactly the same thing that was happening, maybe like at least like throw a few hints in a few different ways to like properly establish it. Because like from what I can tell, it was not unclear at all in Japanese that this character was like very LGBT coded. Like literally like everything he says is in this like effeminate style, and like it's I don't feel like that's something that couldn't be translated, because we do still have stereotypes of like effeminate, like camp gay speech in English. They're just different ones. You could like just change from one to the other. But I guess maybe the translator wanted to be respectful by not like going into stereotypes. But like at the point where like you try and be respectful by like not showing the characters LGBT at all, I feel like that's like not necessarily a good way of handling it. But the original Abe translation was like one of the earliest translations from this particular translator, and just the fact that they kept it in the translation notes and like pointed out and drew attention to it does make me think that this translator is like trans friendly and everything. It's just a bit of a shame that it led to this fact that's going unknown by a lot of people. So yeah, if you're watching this like post Switch game coming out and like the character has different pronouns in that, or things are totally different in that, I apologise that I might have misgendered them. Or him, or however it may be, but I'm just going for this like from the knowledge of me only ever playing the original translation release at the time of recording this. And like if a new translation comes out and does like canonically, even in English, make the character now either be gay or trans, I will like shoot through the roof from sheer happiness and like, oh my god. Like, the nice and comforting, the lovely, like, big sibling character who everyone adores in this game is, like, now gay and or trans, and, like, seriously, it is such a loss for, like, a character, like, in such a good and positive and, like, well-remembered role, ended up having their LGBT status, like, get lost in one territory. It's a shame, because, like, this game was, like, very loved in like, English fandom at the time, and, like, I just hope that like an amount of people who were in the fandom back there did actually end up seeing these translation notes and did actually end up knowing this, because like, yeah, it would be nice to have a bit of positive representation going out there. Hina Ho Ho from Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic. I remember watching some of that show and really not liking it for some reason. I cannot remember why. And then I watched the first like season and a half on Netflix, and I kind of like, as soon as I stopped watching it, I could not retain a single memory of anything that happened in it. So I cannot remember if I actually saw this character during any of that. But just as a designer alone, I really like him. I'm not sure if his character is like, again, from the angle, I can't really tell like if his character is like, from the angle and like how they seem to be wearing some kind of chest binding, I'm not sure if his character is intended to be like a muscular woman or a man or a non-binary person, or if it is just simply the case of like chest bindings being used like on like a regular cis man to like symbolize like being a cool warrior person, because that is like a trait that tends to happen sometimes. But I'm going to be going for neutral pronouns just to avoid offense in case I've accidentally misgendered this character. But yeah, they seem really, really cool and like really buff, and I can imagine that this character has a lot of fans who find him attractive. But this is also in the genre of like character designs where like even if you don't find him attractive like me, I can still find a lot of cool appeal in the design. Like, I'm assuming that Demo has been the one who's put us on the list, because I think Tian really, really likes characters who are, like, muscular people with, like, long hair. And I think if Tian didn't put us on the list, I think he would really like this character. I think the design is really cool, because, like, they give it a vibe of being, like, some kind of, like, water element character, because, like, you have, like, the flowing hair, you have, like, it's blue coloured, of course. You have like this coral type like golden hair clip thing, which maybe a hair clip, or it might be like a crystallized horn or something growing from the head, which would be kind of neat. They do give the vibe of like some kind of like demon overlord character, not overlord, like demon, like a mid boss kind of like an underling for an overlord of a demon thing. Like this kind of like a worthy rival type like Oni character in a video game, like that kind of vibe. Like, I know they look very ominous in this particular picture, but I do get the vibe, like, it would be cool if this character wasn't, like, purely evil or anything, but it was maybe, like, a reckless and boisterous type rival character. That would be neat. It does always seem like a shame when they waste a good design on a character who's just purely unlikable. But yeah, what was I saying? I like how the character design seems to be like some sort of water element character, but like instead of like the typical like stereotype, like I don't know why it became a stereotype, like water characters always being like very live and mystical and beautiful and like magic based rather than strength based. But the ocean has sharks in it, like why would all water always be like harmless when like the ocean has sharks in it, and also like the thing the ocean is most known of to humans is like sinking their boats and killing them all. Like that's like the thing. The ocean was like a big like unconquered territory that we had to invent things to be able to cross because like we couldn't swim across it. Like the ocean is like one of the most like strongest things in the entire bloody earth when you put it together like that. The ocean and all the things in the ocean are like specifically the things that human beings struggle out a very big amount. So yeah, it makes sense to have like buff and awesome water characters too. I wonder if his character actually is like a shark person of some kind. I like that headband, like weird funky design of like those little highlights and then that like mirror in the middle. It makes me curious as to what the purpose of that is, whether that's like an important plot item or like somehow controls their powers in some way. Like, are they actually able to like shoot lasers from it or something? Or like maybe it's like they mirror copy people's powers. That would be really cool. It also kind of slightly gives me a vibe of this manga I read when I was like a very young teenager called Dream Saga Takamahagara, which there was magic mirrors as a MacGuffin in that one. Like kind of a style of how it's drawn here really makes me think about. Also just the fact it was based on like ancient Japanese mythology, and like this design has very much given me the vibe of like this may be a reference to some character from ancient Japanese mythology which I do not know. Or it could just be an entirely original character created in that same sort of genre. But like the weapon they're holding does remind. I'm sure there is some sort of like thing in Japanese mythology where there's like a sword which had like a bunch of branches coming off it. I don't know if that's based on it, but the fact is like it's like kind of coral coloured. It also does lean more to this character maybe being a water element. I like those fluffy armband things too. That's really cool. I like just the wild aesthetic of like, hey, I have like a really fancy skirt and then like a necklace like going around my waist full of like massive ogre teeth. Like that is so cool. Like this character really does really well at blending like elements of like beautifulness with like elements of like pure savage super awesome super strength, which again is making me lean towards, is this character non-binary or like in some way gender non-conforming, or is this character just simply a feminine man or like a masculine woman? Either way, like in every possible gender this character could possibly gender, I really love and support them. That's why this design is like I'm non-conforming to literally any gender that you could put me in. I am going to be in unusual fashion for that gender. I like it. Also, I think the colour scheme works really well with like how you basically just have two colours in this design, but like done twice. Like you have like the skin tone and then like the bandage and like the fur colour is like very close and similar, but like one slightly lighter than the other. And then you have like the dark blue on like the majority of the design compared to like the lighter blue of the hair. And then like I just feel like that works really well. It makes like most of the design is made up of like similar shades of similar colours, and it makes like the yellow, which is like the big thing, like stand out more. And then like it bridges really well into like the big bold red weapon, which is the only thing that's completely contrary to everything else in the entire design. And I feel like this it does more emphasize how this character is like a buff and cool and awesome person. Is the fact that their weapon is like really emphasized in the design. It does give me a vibe of like fighting game characters. Like I said before about how Testament, how their weapon was like a really different colour to their design because they're like designed to swing that weapon, the weapon to be a really cool part of the design. Also, this person seems to be very tall. I'm sure that's nice. I've heard apparently for a lot of people who find other people attractive, like someone being taller than you is supposed to make them more attractive, so I'm sure a lot of people really appreciate this character for that. Again, me talking like from my distant understanding of these concepts. Okay, these characters were not originally on the same line next to each other, they were one after each other like vertically, but like I am 990% sure that these characters are like related. Like either are these siblings, or is this a character who, like, they're too old? Because that's what the vibe is giving me. The fact that one of them is, like, wearing a mask and everything. They're two different characters who live in the same body, basically. And I think that's really cool. And, like, I think their designs are really good, too. Especially, like I like how, like, the mask has, like, a covering for the horn on the forehead. And then, like, when the mask is off, there is actually a horn on the forehead. Because it makes you think that like, it's just a decorative horn on the mask. And then, like, there is a horn in them. Maybe they're actually brothers and, like, one of them does have a horn and one of them doesn't have a horn, but wears a mask to make up for the lack of horn. Who knows? But yeah, to speak of them both as a whole, I really like the creative, like, interesting way they handled them being, like, a half, like, cat person. Like, I don't think I've ever seen an idea of that done before. Like, it's usually just, like, have the ears on top of the head coming out. But, like, instead you've had the cat ears coming out of the same place where human ears are. And then, like, the way it's not even, like, fur all over the face or no fur on the face. It's, like, fur just in stripes under the eyes. That's a really unique and interesting way of doing it. It makes me think of, like, old classic movie werewolves where they would have, like the face would be, like, the shaven part, and then, like, the hair would kind of be encroaching around the sides, and, like, only the face would be the part that wouldn't be wolfy. It's weird how it changed that to nowadays, and, like, nowadays, like, when you see, like, a typical, like, werewolf in a movie, they tend to be, like, a person-shaped person with, like, a wolf head, rather than, like, a wolf-shaped wolf with a person head. So I really commemorate that as being like a unique and visually striking design for like an anthro person. I also think it's really interesting how like the hair colour on like the animal parts is totally different to the hair colour on the human parts. I wonder if they dyed their hair, if that's just like a natural thing. Like, that's just an interesting, it implies a lot about how, like, I don't know, like the rules of how animal people work in this universe might be different. Like, they are, like, they're more separate. Like, it is, like, they've just cut, like, parts of the human face off and then, like, they're replaced with, like, animal face. Not, like, literally, but it is, like, it's like, they're halfway through a transformation between a human and an animal, and, like, both of them look very different, but then they're both together, and it makes me think, like, maybe the rules of how animal people work in this role might be different. Also, I think it's interesting how, like, the animal they seem to be murdered with is like a cat or a coyote or some sort of like eared like beast thingy, but then they also have a horn in the middle of their forehead like a unicorn. So it makes me think that like this isn't even specifically like any kind of like regular human animal person. It's kind of like a generalized like beast person. Or like they're a werewolf for like a fictional type of animal that doesn't really exist. Maybe it's like some sort of like funky like unicorn wolf. That would be really cool. I also think it goes really well how like the hair color for like the animal ears, like it's chosen to be like a color that is like on the same color palette, general color palette as like the skin tone. Like you have like a pinkish skin tone and like a brownish ear color, which makes it visually blend in better and work better, and you don't like immediately notice like, oh, they have two different hair colors. You just think like that's part of the skin, and then you have the hair over it. Visually in your mind it goes like that, so it makes it all work much better, and like it doesn't strike your mind like you see usually characters who have like two differing hair tone colors. It's used for the case of like being striking, drawing your eye to it, making it immediately apparent. But here you have a character who has two different hair colors, but it's not striking. It doesn't immediately draw your eye. Like instead, your eye is drawn to a load of other things, like the cool, amazing unicorn horn. I don't have too much to say about the outfit itself. It does kind of feel like a tiny bit of Final Fantasy XIV syndrome, but it's just like a bunch of different elements, and then like no real design consistency or reason for them all to be there, and lots of patterns all over them and stuff. But the unifying colour scheme really does make it all work a lot better. Like, you do have just a very simple colour scheme, it's just white and red. It helps work better with like how complicated all the little dealy boops are under it. Also, I like what they seem to be wearing, like steel-capped shoes. I don't know, that's just an uncommon thing to see in video games. Also, I do kind of love how they only have armour on their kneecaps. That's kind of strange. Their kneecaps and their shoe caps. Their shoe cups. All caps must be guarded. Oh, they kind of also have a horn cap. No one shall touch a cap in this universe. No one shall touch a cap on my watch. I've also put a cap on my watch. It's a yokai watch. Also, I've got to say, the combination of like the hair and skin colour and like the ears, it really reminds me of what's his name, Dillis from Rune Factory 4. And oddly enough, this design looks more like Dillis' monster form than Dillis' actual human form does. Because in that game, that guy, like, his monster form is a unicorn, and then his design looks 100% like just a wolfman. And like here, we have a guy who has wolfman ears and also a unicorn horn. Like, did someone cosmically mix up the character designs in like the mental metaverse of like multiple creators' shared dream world? Maybe this guy is just Dillis' dad. Maybe this guy is Dillis' two dads who live in the same body. Maybe one of them is dad and one of them is an uncle. I wonder how it actually works in situations where someone with DID happens to have children. Like, do they call like all personalities within the host body their like equal amount of parents, or is only one of them considered the parent and the other are considered like siblings? I'm unsure. I don't actually know anyone who has DID and who's also a parent. I'm not actually sure. I'd be interested to hear that from anyone who knows. Also, what I like about it is like even though their designs are like mostly exactly the same, because it is just the same, like it's either the same body or they are just identical twins, I like how you can still see the very big difference in personality between them. Because Leo, the one who isn't wearing a mask, you can see he has like a very serious and very stern personality. Like his face is like completely 100% like suiting his design. Like I would say like this design is like a very serious looking design. Because I mean it is like a soldiery like typical like some kind of like fighty like anime or video game person type uniform. So I would assume this is a character who is in some kind of like high ranking position in like an army, like either as a villain or a hero. So, like, Leo is exactly what you would expect from this appearance, like a super serious, super cool man. But then Mystere, you look over here, and, like, it's the same design, like, with nothing changed but a mask. But then, like, the personality seems, like, super hammy and ridiculous and, like, cheering and, like, boisterous. And, like, doing like, poses on the Lion King rock. And I love. I really adore the design of the mask, too. It really reminds me of, like, kind of like a stained glass equivalent of, like, the mask from Bleach. The hollow masks. I kind of know, there's something about it kind of says, like, this is a mask that looks like it's part of your face rather than actually being a removable mask. Which I guess would make sense if, like, this character is, like two alters living inside the same body and, like, only when wearing the mask can they switch places or something. Because that would kind of make sense, like, it would kind of, like, make like, the mask is literally, like, part of Mystere. Not literally, but, like, as in, like, mentally part of Mystere. So it makes sense, like, to add that design element into it, even if it isn't actually literally true. I like how it combines, like simple masquerade mask aesthetics with also, like, a bigger and more fancy mask. I really find it a cute detail. There's also a little cap for the horn on the top. Like, I always like in fancy fiction when they think of, like, different ways for, like, society and, like, outfit design and, like how they get around, like cars and, like, if there's, like, a different type of pencil to be used for, like, people who have different claw hands and stuff. Like, I really like that kind of world building to think about, like, how society might be different in a world where, like, monster people are completely normal and have always been around. I think it would be adorable to just walk into, like, an outfit shop and just see a whole variety of different unicorn people masks. Or, like, hey, you walk into Taylor, like, hey, would you like that with unicorn or without unicorn? Just like if you were asking for, like, ice or no ice in a cinema. And just like if you're walking into the character design room and being like would you like serious alter or alter with fun? I hope they have cool and fun interactions as a family. Like, I feel like they would have, like, a really adorable, like, brotherly relationship. It's like you have, like, the very serious brother and the very silly brother. That's just like a classic. So yeah, I'm gonna give a big old friend to these two. That's 2 friends on the counter, please.